I want to first go to one of your recent tweets that's making news today. On Sunday, you tweeted, quote, GOP leader Kevin McCarthy threatens punishment for Ilhan Omar, Ilhan, Minnesota, and Rashida Tlaib over their criticisms of Israel. It's stunning how much time U.S. political leaders spend defending a foreign nation, even if it means attacking free speech rights of Americans, you wrote. Well, Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of Minnesota retweeted your post and added the line, "It's all about the Benjamins, baby." Then an opinion editor from the Forward newspaper tweeted, "Would love to know who Ilhan thinks is paying American politicians to be pro-Israel, though I think I can guess. Bad form, Congresswoman. That's the second anti-Semitic trope you've tweeted." Ilhan Omar then responded to that tweet by writing, AIPAC. Democratic Congressman Max Rose responded to Omar by saying, Congresswoman Omar's statements are deeply hurtful to Jews, including myself. So, Glenn, can you respond to all of this?
This is all so ridiculous. It's all based upon this demand that we indulge what everybody knows is an utter and complete fiction, which is that we're allowed to talk about the power of the NRA in Washington. We're allowed to talk about the power of the Saudis in Washington. We're allowed to talk about the power of big pharmaceutical companies and Wall Street and Silicon Valley and the fossil fuel industry in Washington. But we're not allowed to talk about an equally potent, well-organized, and well-financed lobby that ensures a bipartisan consensus in support of U.S. defense of Israel. That the minute that you mention that lobby, you get attacked as being anti-Semitic, which is what happened to Congresswoman Omar. And I think the context here is really important. For a long time, the bipartisan piety was not just that the U.S. has to support Israel, but that in particular, the effort to boycott Israel in protest of its occupation of Palestine is not just misguided, but anti-Semitic. That's the official position of the Democratic Party, of Hillary Clinton, of Chuck Schumer, of every leading Democrat. And now suddenly you have these two really exciting, dynamic, charismatic women of color newly elected to Congress, the first two Muslim women elected to Congress, who both are supporters of the boycott of Israel, which the Democratic Party says is bigotry and anti-Semitism, and it's created this very awkward moment. So of course, the minute two Muslim women arrive in Congress, they're going to get attacked as anti-Semitic if they're critical of Israel, which they are, just like Keith Ellison, the first Muslim ever elected to Congress, got vilified as being an anti-Semite by Chaim Sabin, the billionaire funder of the Democratic Party, when he tried to be the chairman of the DNC. What the Congresswoman said is very uncontroversial. Everyone knows AIPAC is an extremely intimidating lobby, just like the NRA is. There's nothing wrong with pointing that out. There's certainly nothing anti-Semitic about saying that, about criticizing the Israeli government for its aggression and militarism. And anybody who cares about Palestinians and about the ability of Muslims in the United States to be able to speak freely ought to be defending her. And the last one I would add is my point was in saying what how weird it is, what a priority it is for U.S. politicians to defend Israel, was based on the fact that the very first bill passed by the U.S. Senate was not about helping Americans. It was about empowering states to punish people who support a boycott of Israel, a bill sponsored by Marco Rubio, who got more money from Sheldon Adelson than any other politician in 2016, and then was supported by half of the Democratic Senate caucus. That's what I was referring to, and the Congresswoman was saying a big reason for that is the moneyed interest in Washington that demand that. And of course, everyone knows that's true, and to call that anti-Semitic is just obscene.
I'll add, Chelsea Clinton also tweeted, I will reach out to her tomorrow. She wrote this last night, Ilhan Omar. I also think we have to call out anti-Semitic language and tropes on all sides, particularly in our elected officials, and particularly now, Chelsea Clinton tweeted.
Yeah, who is Chelsea Clinton to become the spokeswoman about what is and isn't permissible debate when it comes to Israel. Her parents are probably the two individuals most responsible for turning the United States into a steadfast defender of an apartheid, murderous, and oppressive regime in that region. Her two parents are probably the leading politicians most responsible for ensuring the ongoing repression of the Palestinian people. So Chelsea Clinton, who I don't think has any public status other than being the daughter of two famous politicians, really has no place in trying to set the boundaries of what is and isn't permissible debate, given what her family has done so much harm to ensuring that Palestinians don't live with the basic minimum dignity and sovereignty to which every human being is entitled.